to be a right-wing crank, is that this is not great for the Tesla brand, which for the most part, for most of its life, has appealed primarily to an environmentally conscious customer base who understandably does not want to appear to endorse far-right politics. Bumper stickers saying, "I bought this car before we knew Elon sucked" are increasingly popular accessories for existing owners, and new buyers aren't coming around as much as they used to, especially in Europe. Here's futurism. As Musk has become even more inescapably political, Tesla sales have dropped sharply across the European Union and the UK. In Germany, the only European country with a Tesla plant, sales of the new EVs plummeted by nearly 60%, while France saw a 63% decrease compared to January 2024. In Norway, new Tesla registrations fell by 38%. Sweden, meanwhile, registered just 405 new Teslas for the month, a 44% plunge. Sales in the United States are also falling, though less drastically. That's not to mention the spectacular collapse of Cybertruck sales. Currently only available in the US and Canada, which fell by 22% from Q3 2024 to Q4 as the controversial EV's resale value hit the toilet. The collapsing sales figures are likely to compound the company's already horrendous performance issues. From 2023 to 2024, Tesla's net income dropped by a disappointing 23%. And from 2022 to 2024, it fell an eye-watering 40%. But everything's fine.
It's all going to work out.
And the stock, well, we'll figure it out. We got plenty of boys out there who want to kick their money over to old Elon Musk.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And once we deal with like the Securities and Exchange Commission, those pesky little bridge trolls.
I have fed it to the wood chipper.
Yeah, then things are going to get real fun.
Strange how he is particularly going after government agencies that have had an eye on him for years.
Yeah, directly are the ones that are regulating him and getting in the way of his grandeur.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Meanwhile, protests and acts of vandalism targeting Tesla showrooms and parking lots and whatnot are on the rise thanks to the company's owner's central role in the radical and unconstitutional things happening in D.C. And the Cybertruck is now officially more explosive than the Ford Pinto.
Hey!
17 times more explosive. In fact, this is the Ford Pinto, the gold standard of that's a car you don't want to be in because it will explode and fucking kill you. They did it.
Yeah. You know, they said they wanted the old America back and they got it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Very exciting stuff. Make America explode again. And none of this is good for Elon, whose vast fortune is mostly tied up in Tesla stock. But being the shadow president does have its perks as well, like gutting the federal agencies that regulate Tesla, and also, apparently, replacing Tesla's former customers with the U.S. government. Woo. Here's Brian Grimm at DropSite News. The State Department's procurement forecast, revised as of late December 2024, lists Tesla as the recipient of the largest expected contract, with Marco Rubio's department planning to buy $400 million worth of armored Tesla. The award is targeted for Q4 and is forecast to last for 5 years. The procurement forecast is listed as having been modified on December 13th, 2024, a month after Donald Trump's election. The State Department did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Under the heading, Extent Competed, the document reads merely TBD. So it was looks like it was a no-bid contract for...
Sounds like a lot of Cybertrucks.
A whole lot of Cybertrucks.
Yes.
Yeah.
We got these Cybertrucks sitting around.
They're going to make like ambassadors and government officials ride around in fucking Cybertrucks that are probably wrapped with like the ugliest shit you've ever seen.
Yeah, it's going to be like if you've ever seen the drug cars in Florida where they wrap them afterwards and it's just the most gaudy graphics.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's going to be like.
We're a serious country.
Elon promised he'd be on the lookout for potential conflicts of interest and he would nip them right in the bud. So surely, don't worry, everyone. He's going to put a stop to this idiotic plan to buy a bunch of unsold Cybertruck inventory. The State Department's vehicle fleet, he won't let those Cybertrucks anywhere near that fleet because that would be immoral and it would go against
uncouth, untoward, and very corrupt. And that is a conflict of interest that Elon is going to self-police himself on so hard.
Yeah.
Because it's all about transparency and efficiency.
And he has said that he is the most transparent.
Yeah, you can see right through him.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of conflicts of interest, the latest federal agency that Elon's got on the chopping block is the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, or CFPB.
Why would consumers need financial protection?
I don't know. Let's get rid of it and find out. It was created in the wake of the financial crisis and Great Recession, and it's responsible for protecting American consumers from shady and predatory behavior by financial institutions. Stuff the CFPB has focused on includes credit score accuracy, junk fees, excessive late fees, buy now, pay later loans, and it has successfully recovered billions of dollars for consumers who were cheated. And it seems like a pretty important agency, especially considering the whole mess that led to its creation and the fact that it was a reaction to that mess.
Yeah.
A very recent thing put in place. But
Well,
Elon
to
wants
be
it
fair,
gone.
most of the people working for Elon were like babies when that happened. They don't remember.
Yeah. Shitting in their diapers. Yeah. So the staff purge is already underway, and CFPB has been ordered to cease all pending investigations. And like with every other agency he has targeted, personal enrichment and grievances seem to be at the heart of it. Once again, here's the New York Times.
In recent days, Mr. Musk's Department of Government Efficiency team, which is not a formal executive branch department, descended on the Consumer Bureau, gaining access to its headquarters and computer systems as part of a broader effort to dismantle it. Last week, Mr. Musk marked the moment on X, writing CFPB RIP alongside an emoji of a gravestone. As Mr. Musk's deregulation team makes its way through federal agencies, he has been criticized for having numerous conflicts of interest involving his businesses. And at X, one of the most promising ways Mr. Musk can increase profits is through a payments business, which could charge fees for transactions. Building out that business would be easier without having to contend with a regulator like the Consumer Bureau, which has a recent track record of bringing cases against payment companies. Elon Musk is working his way into the financial products marketplace right now, said Richard Cordray, who was the Bureau's inaugural director under President Barack Obama and remained in the job through the first year of President Trump's first term. It's very convenient for him to be trying to neutralize the regulator that he would have to answer to. That is a blatant conflict of interest, Mr. Cordray continued.
Sorry, Mr. Cordray, but Elon Musk said that he would get out in front of any possible conflicts of
Yeah,
interest.
if he finds one, he'll let us all know. And in the meantime, don't worry about it, because he'll,
He's putting out the
why
statements.
spend all day stressing about potential conflicts of interest? When the conflicts of interest rear their ugly little heads, he'll be like, "Oh, I found one, a conflict of interest. Well, I will recuse myself from this particular conflict of interest and focus on the process of making the government more efficient."
That stove looks hot. Maybe I should touch it. Maybe I shouldn't. Unless it'll make me money. Digital payment apps have become a core part of how Americans transact. Apple, Google, PayPal, and Block, which owns Cash App, are all big players. And the Consumer Bureau has been the primary federal financial regulator for these non-bank technology companies. 3 months ago, it issued a rule, which took effect last month, giving itself supervisory authority over digital payment companies. That allows the agency's examiners to delve deeply into the details of those companies' payment systems and transaction data. And lately, the Bureau had been aggressively pursuing enforcement actions against some of the biggest companies in the industry. Last month, it accused Block of enabling fraudulent transactions and ordered it to return $120 million to consumers. In December, it sued several banks for their operation of Zelle, a payment system that Rohit Chopra, the consumer agency's Biden-era director, said became a gold mine for fraudsters, while often leaving victims to fend for themselves. The banks denied any wrongdoing and are fighting the lawsuit.
So, yeah, I mean, it seems like they're doing good stuff over there.
But it's going to make Elon's life slightly harder.
I mean, anyone who uses X for their money, when that inevitably happens, is an idiot and deserves to be ripped off. But it's unfortunate
I just hope that there's not enough people that use X for their financial banking that could cause bigger problems.
Or how about this? Once we've gotten rid of the U.S. Treasury, we just pay all of the remaining federal employees with their X wallets.
Yeah.
We send the money through X. And so
Fort Knox costs too much money to operate.
not the U.S. dollar, we'll send Dogecoin because we're Doge, get it?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past them.
Yeah, I wouldn't either.
So yeah, the only efficiency being pursued here is removing any and all roadblocks to Elon Musk getting even richer, at the expense of everyone else getting ripped off by financial institutions in ways that we already fucking solved.
Yeah.
It's blatantly corrupt, and it's happening right in front of us. And we just gotta sit there and watch. We're all in the cuck chair.
Yeah. We're sitting right there next to the president.
Right next to the president in the world's biggest cuck chair.
Yep.
But moving on to a bit of non-Elon specific political news, the fascism alarms are blaring just as loudly and brightly as the corruption alarms. And here's the Washington Post with some specifics on how that's playing out. Candidates for top national security positions in the Trump administration have faced questions that appear designed to determine whether they have embraced the president's false claims about the outcome of the 2020 election and its aftermath, according to people familiar with cases of such screening. The questions asked of several current and former officials up for top intelligence agency and law enforcement posts revolved around two events that have become President Donald Trump's litmus test to distinguish friend from foe: the results of the 2020 election and the January 6, 2021 assault on the U.S. Capitol. According to the people who, like others interviewed for this report, spoke on the condition of anonymity because of the matter's sensitivity.
These people said that two individuals, both former officials who are being considered for positions within the intelligence community, were asked to give yes or no responses to the questions: was January 6 an inside job? And was the 2020 presidential election stolen? These individuals, who did not give the desired straight yes answers, were not selected. It is not clear whether other factors contributed to the decision. The questions were posed in direct interviews conducted by personnel hiring for the new administration. One former official familiar with the questions posed to one of the candidates said he was not willing to compromise his integrity by saying things he knew weren't true. He's not losing any sleep over his decision.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, yeah, if you're not a total sycophant, you're just going to be like, all right, well, I guess...
Gotta lean back on the truth on this one.
Yeah, I guess I'm going to stay in the private sector because this is fucked. But yeah, this is going to lead to a bunch of huge law enforcement agencies being staffed by total sycophants.
Well, yeah, that's the goal. So
yeah, that is what they're trying to do, and it's happening. And we're all just sitting here in
luckily,
a gigantic cuck chair, getting cucked.
Luckily, all of our local police departments, down to the most rural cities in our country, haven't had ballooning budgets over the past 30 to 40 years, making it damn near impossible for anyone to fight back.
I saw this right before we came in today, but apparently I think it's the Army. It's either the Army or another branch or just the entire DOD, but they're just like, yeah, so we saw the whole like transgender thing you signed, and like, we're not going to do that. We're just going to keep doing what we're doing, which I'm sure will lead to Pete Hegseth, and it'll lead to problems. But it is nice to see, like, the military in particular not just taking this shit lying down.
Other news, I mean, we might get into it tomorrow on News Dump or whatever, but Trump is ending the war in Ukraine, just like he ended the war between Israel and Palestine by giving the countries that are friendly to him exactly what they want.
Yeah.
Other people, they get nothing.
He's, they're
like, Ukraine, we got a great deal for you.
You give up all these
You give up to everything that he wanted, and then the war ends.
Yeah. And you can both say you won.
Anyways, we have 2 episodes for you. Our audio got messed up on the Super Bowl episode. Sorry about that. We forgot to record it, and we had to do it off the camera, but we were able to salvage it instead of deleting it, so that was good. So you can watch that if you want. And also, actually, a nice precursor for that episode is the Weekly Weird News that leads into it, because it's filled with Kanye losing his fucking
mind. A lot of Kanye news in both those. Okay, folks, it's been a very exhausting news year so far, but finally, we have found a temporary solution for the horrible cycle that we're in, where every single video we publish has either Donald Trump or Elon Musk's face in the thumbnail.
There's only so many ways I can position them in a thumbnail that's interesting to look at.
I'm running out of ideas. Yeah. I know you're sick of their faces, and trust me, so are we.
Yeah.
They are, of course, in today's episode, but thankfully we can put off today's trip to hell for a few brief moments and look at a story that really takes us back to when things were so much simpler, and this show wasn't just an accounting of all the insane shit that our 2 presidents have gotten up to in the past 24 to 48 hours.
Yeah.
Malachi Love Robinson may be in prison, but just when we needed it the most.
But in other news that we're using to delay talking about the sad state of the U.S. government, the global war on drugs has been, to put it lightly, a total failure, with drugs emerging as the clear winner.
And they're not buying any more American fentanyl.
That's right.
They got a whole czar dealing with that now. But yeah, don't do cocaine, guys.
Don't avoid drugs in general, but if you're going to do them,
pour yourself a big cup of Arabic coffee. Very strong.
Whatever.
But moving on. We're not quite to the politics section just yet, but this next story is definitely politics adjacent. I mean, we saw it in 2016. We're seeing it again now. A lot of people see Donald Trump being in the White House and think that that means that it's just open season on being a total piece of shit. And Kanye West may be a few weeks late to the party, but he has clearly decided that having Trump back in power means it's time to do a little bit more insane Nazi shit. We're bringing it back. Around 2.5 years ago is when we last saw Kanye go on a weeks-long anti-Semitic rampage. And while it cost him a ton of money in lost business deals, it did succeed at giving him the attention that he craved. So this week, after getting some attention, showing off his naked wife at the Grammys, and coming out as autistic, Kanye was back at it again with the Nazi shit. And honestly, by the time this video goes up, there's probably going to be even more because this was ongoing all throughout Friday. Also, he keeps tweeting like 100 tweets, deleting everything, and then coming back and doing it again.
Well, hey,
I should probably cut it out. You know what? Actually, I'm not going to cut it out.
I mean, again, because of our filming schedule, we were just here 24 hours ago and just talking about how the omen of Kanye publicly stating that he is now off his meds was not making me feel too great about the future of Kanye West. And yet here we are in the same spot 24 hours later being like, yeah, so he's already online saying stuff, and this will spill over into real life as it has in the past. So
here we are.
Yeah.
24 hours later. But yeah, here's just some of the stuff that Kanye tweeted.
I'm a Nazi.
I love Hitler. Now what, bitches?
Call me Adolf Hitler, and your bitch still wants to fuck.
Hitler was so fresh.
I'm going to normalize talking about Hitler the way talking about killing N-words has been normalized.
I can say Jew as much as I want. I can say Hitler as much as I want. Matter of fact, I do say it when I want. Okay, yeah, that was obvious.
Okay. Ain't nobody ramped up either. I'm calm as ice. This is how I really feel, how I really felt, and how I will always feel. Fuck all of your fuck-ass unfair business deals. Any Jewish person that does business with me needs to know I don't like or trust any Jewish person. And this is completely sober with no Hennessy. Also, no meds, obviously. No medication.
Maybe a little nitrous. Some of my best friends are Jewish, and I don't trust any of them.
Sorry to all of Kanye's friends. I'm buying 2 Maybachs tomorrow. I'm going to make the Jewish person who's selling to me read all these tweets, and I bet you see me whipping Maybachs.
I'm racist. Stereotypes exist for a reason, and they all be true.
Elon stole my Nazi swag at the inauguration. Yo, my guy, get your own third rail. What? Hey, just a little self-awareness there. Yes. Hey, you don't want to touch that.
Yeah.
Leave the Nazi stuff.
That's for me.
What?
I do love that he's fully acknowledging, too. Like, no, it was a Nazi salute. I would know as Kanye West. What Elon did was a Nazi salute.
Yeah, but the end of just being like, no,
that's my thing.
What?
That's my controversy. Get your own. And yeah, that's not even close to all of it, but if all that wasn't bad enough, if you can excuse the Nazi shit, maybe this will be something you can't excuse, because he took some breaks from Nazi posting to chime in on the whole Diddy situation, saying something like, "Free Puff!"
At Real Donald Trump, please free my brother Puff.
I stood up for Puff, and I'm still winning 20 Grammys next year and doing the Super Bowl.
I don't think so.
I don't think he will. I don't think he's going to be doing any of that.
And it wasn't all anti-Semitism and sticking up for Black Jeffrey Epstein. There were some interesting tangents. Like, for example, at one point, he seems to have claimed that he had sex with Ivanka Trump. Okay, so that's the whole Kanye situation currently.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a lot. There's a lot of tweets, not all of them about anti-Semitism or how much he loves P. Diddy and everything he did, or about fucking Ivanka Trump. There's some really strange ones in there. Sometimes he's writing long-form essays. Sometimes he's going all caps. And
I'm going to do it. I'm going to touch the third rail.
Yeah. But he's what they say in the medical industry, he's manic.
Yeah, he seems to be in a manic.
He's in a manic state because he's bipolar, not autistic. Maybe he's a little autistic, but he's very bipolar.
Yeah, there was that.
And having autism doesn't make you a Nazi.
Yeah, as if we have to keep saying that.
I just want to clarify it for all the autistic people out there and the non-autistic.
But we do have a way to solve this. Someone needs to get Jonah Hill on the phone right now, talk Kanye down, put on 21 Jump Street, the movie that saved him before.
Yeah, that's last time this ended all kind of with a whimper. He's just like, all right, I watched 21 Jump Street, and that Jew, Jonah Hill, That is one funny Jew. I can't stay mad at the Jewish people after seeing Jonah Hill's masterful performance in 21 Jump Street. And Kanye, he's got so many more movies than that. And he's great in pretty much all of them. He really is a national treasure. And yeah, maybe you need to be reminded of that.
Yeah.
He surfs now, which is pretty cool. He's also a bad boyfriend, but maybe you'll be into that.
Yeah.
I bet Kanye would be into that.
Could be. Yeah.
Anyway, we've now reached that point, the point of no return, where we have to once again talk about Elon Musk and his Hitler Youth Brigade.
My heart goes out to you.
So last we checked, a day ago, one of the young boys that Elon had put in charge of the U.S. government had flown a little too close to the sun and had been forced to resign from his position due to blatantly racist tweets of his being uncovered that weren't even old and had in fact been posted within the past year, within the past few months, within the past few weeks.
Yeah, literally weeks ago.
Now, this was good news considering that this kid, Marco Ellis, had reportedly been granted read-write access to the U.S. Treasury's computer systems. But it did strike some as odd that a few racist tweets would cost someone their job, considering their boss was on stage doing Hitler salutes just a few weeks earlier. And sure enough, within a day, Elon was polling his followers on whether he should give little Marco his job back. And Vice President J.D. Vance was endorsing the idea with, "Here's my view. I obviously disagree with some of Ellis's posts, but I don't think stupid social media activity should ruin a kid's life. We shouldn't reward journalists who try to destroy people, ever. So I say bring him back. If he's a bad dude or a terrible member of the team, fire him for that."
Sir, these aren't old, resurfaced tweets from years ago. This isn't someone who was even 25 is, especially in the Teen Boy Squad.
He's a 25-year-old boy. He's about to age out of the Teen Boy Squad.
But still, 25 on the upper end of this. But still, this isn't someone who's 35, 40, 50 or whatever, going back and they're pulling tweets from 20 years ago or something like that. He said this 3 weeks ago.
This isn't a millennial posting in 2010.
Yeah. This is someone posting.
This is a Zoomer posting in
multiple
2025.
Yeah, within weeks. And while at these jobs, while working for Musk, while working at X, while apparently knowing that he's going to be working for the government, tweeting this stuff. Also, your wife is of Indian descent.
Yes, yes.
So, of course, we're going to unpack. First off, it should be noted that among Marco's racist tweets were, "You could not pay me to marry outside of my ethnicity," and "normalize Indian hate." And of course, J.D. Vance is in an interracial marriage with an Indian-American woman. The word cuck has lost much of its meaning over the past few years, but this is some serious cuck behavior from J.D. Vance. He's literally admitting that racist bigotry toward his wife and himself does not make someone a bad dude. Yeesh. Maybe defend your wife instead of this random person.
Yeah,
online.
no, this is like the definition of cuck is like selling out your wife for political gain.
For the approval of someone you don't even know.
Approval of a 25-year-old like groiper.
Also, you can't say that Marco Ellis is just some dumb kid who said some dumb shit like kids tend to do, and also endorse the idea that he should have full access to highly sensitive government systems.
Yeah, it's one or the other. Either
you can't be boys being boys and then give them the levers of power.
Yeah, either this person has no responsibility for their actions, or they have enough responsibility for their actions that we let them have control over the fucking U.S. Treasury.
They don't have control over their actions, but they are supposed to be in control over the financial stake of millions of people. So yes, Ro Khanna, who is Indian American, replied with, "Are you going to tell him to apologize for saying normalize Indian hate before this rehire? Just asking for the sake of both of our kids." To which Vance replied, "For the sake of both of our kids, grow up. Racist trolls on the internet, while offensive, don't threaten my kids. You know what does? A culture that denies grace to people who make mistakes. A culture that encourages congressmen to act like whiny children." Fellas, is it woke to defend your wife and children from blatant racism against them? I mean, Jesus Christ. Also, in that response, admitted that the dude posted racist tweets.
Yeah, it was racist, but I didn't have a problem with it. I want to be clear.
And I speak for my wife, who is Indian, and I'm speaking for her.
And my fucking children, who this guy probably thinks are like fucking mongrel half-breeds.
Yeah.
But you know what? First Amendment. So anyway, this little racist, the little racists, the little rascals.
Yeah, you have to do that little thing with the hair in the back.
Yeah, he could be alfalfa, but this little racist got his job back.
Yeah.
Here's CNBC. Elon Musk said Friday he will rehire a Doge staffer who resigned from a Treasury Department post after the exposure of his tweets advocating for racism and eugenics. Musk's announcement on his social media platform X came after Vice President J.D. Vance urged Musk to hire the staffer back, and President Donald Trump endorsed the view. He will be brought back, Musk, the head of Doge, wrote on X in response to Vance's recommendation. To err is human, to forgive divine, Musk wrote. Less than an hour earlier, Trump was asked about the post by the 25-year-old former staffer, Marco Ellis, and Vance's opinion that he should be brought back to Doge. Well, I don't know about the particular thing, Trump said during a press conference at the White House with Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. But if the vice president said that, what'd you say? I'm with the vice president, Trump said. He's so lazy.
I know.
That is like the one of the key differences among the many key differences between the administrations is that Trump is clearly 8 years older than he was in 2016.
He's tired.
He doesn't want to do the fucking work. He's always been lazy, but he's extra lazy this time.
It's also
Sure, whatever.
It's also a tactic that he uses to actually not commit to having an opinion on anything. He can just be like, okay, well,
I don't know.
You can't pin this on me.
Yeah.
But it is, pretty telling that Musk, along with J.D. Vance in their response to this, both seemingly admitted that the viewpoints were wrong. Musk said to commit an error or whatever, and J.D. Vance said don't be a racist troll or whatever. So what I'm understanding here is that he did say something wrong. So Musk is publicly saying that what this guy said was wrong. So just so everyone knows.
It was wrong, but he liked it.
But what this really does is it just kicks open the door for anyone
Yeah.
to do or say anything again
Well,
with zero repercussions. Because they just did this very publicly.
yeah.
So it sends a clear signal to the rest of the Gooner Squad. Meanwhile, if you can believe it, a second Doge boy has been outed as racist. I know. What are the odds?
I'm shocked.
When your hero is a legendary racist, you might be as well. Here's Reuters. One of the people working with billionaire Elon Musk in his efforts to overhaul the U.S. government is a Berkeley-educated computer scientist who has boosted white supremacists and misogynists online. Gavin Klager lists his job on LinkedIn as special advisor to the director at the Office of Personnel Management, which has been spearheading Musk's efforts to shrink the federal workforce. His USAID email address was copied on a message reviewed by Reuters that was sent to staffers at the International Aid Agency on Monday. It urged them to stay home while the agency was being shut down. Klager is one of about a dozen men identified by Reuters and other news outlets who have been recruited by Musk and his Doge office to reshape the federal government. Reuters could not determine the importance of Klager's role at OPM. In social media posts between October 2024 and January, Klager has voiced controversial views and reposted content from white supremacist Nick Fuentes and self-described misogynist Andrew Tate. Again, not 5 years ago, not 10 years ago, not 15 years ago, last month.
In response to a post about New York Mayor Eric Adams possibly shutting down a migrant shelter in November, Klager wrote, "Just leave them be for a few more months. Will be much more convenient to deport them all if they are in one spot." Klager has reposted comments from white supremacist Fuentes, who has at times been banned from social media platforms, including Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, for hate speech. Klager shared a December 4th post from Fuentes' X account. Klager has since unshared the post, but Reuters examined a copy of the original repost via the Internet Archive. In the post on X, Fuentes mocks a post praising a photo of an apparently white couple pictured with two light-skinned children and a dark-skinned baby. In his post, Fuentes referred to adopted black kids, denigrating the apparent interracial adoption. He also used the word huz, a pejorative term for women. Reuters cannot immediately establish the identity or ethnicity of the people depicted. Fuentes did not respond to a request for comment on the post by email. Klager has also reposted social media influencer and self-described misogynist Andrew Tate. The British-American former kickboxer is being investigated by Romanian prosecutors for human trafficking, trafficking of minors, sexual intercourse with a minor, and money laundering, and has since founded a nativist British political party. Tate has denied
I've never in my entire career been against such a dishonest, like hateful, persistently, like they're dirty, they don't care, they'll outwardly lie. This is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just benign dudes, just I don't know what they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or boxes or something, like they're helping. This is what it is online. Hassan's community are the most psychotic people on the internet. He's a liar, dude. I hate to say it, but I do think it's related. I mean, it's kind of like, it's kind of Stalinist. The way that they'll just lie and say anything to frame anyone for anything. It had just been discovered around the same time as this Arab tier list that Twitch had secretly, without announcing it anywhere, banned the entire country of Israel from creating new accounts.
They're just like in too deep on whatever the certain narrative is that they're committed to. I feel like the reason I brought it up was mainly to express the frustration with Bibi and him firing the one guy that was somewhat, you know, attempting at moderation. It wasn't really so much to say Gallant is a good guy. I shouldn't have used that word. That was a bad choice on my part, considering stuff that he has said that I was not even thinking of. There's no room to like allow
They have to win.
anything that deviates a little bit from like, no, this is the bad guy, this is the good guy.
All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys.
There's nothing in between.
There's a story. They have a story that they cannot deviate from, no matter what. The artist I wanted to collaborate with decided I don't want to be associated because I'm Israeli. When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate with an Israeli just because I was born there. And this is the result of Hassan's type of activism. This is the result of this activism that this is the result of Hassan's activism. This is what it resounds to. This is the fault of people like Hassan. Zero progress for people in Gaza.
Last week, Ethan Klein released the long-awaited content nuke on Hassan Piker, his magnum opus, 2 months in the making, designed to end the career of Hassan Piker and anyone else in his political Twitch streaming orbit. Well, not anyone, mostly just Arabs and Arab women in particular. This video, from a metric standpoint, was a success. I mean, the H3 podcast hasn't hit 1 million views in 3 months, the last 1 million view video being entirely about Hassan. Ethan seemed to notice this trend and decided to go all out on a 2-hour crash-out content nuke to get it all off his chest. Or so we hoped, as the last 3 episodes of the H3 podcast have also been entirely about Hassan Piker. And in those 3 episodes, Ethan has really dug his own grave, showing us all that he truly is a shell of his former self.
Someone who has any sort of kindness in their heart.
I'm unkind now.
Wait, what is he talking about?
I'm a meanie head. Because he says, you have to be a total meanie head to make that video he made about me, which I haven't watched. Did you just call me a meanie head?
What? We're talking about kindness?
Yeah, are we doing...
We're way past that, Hassan. We hate you.
Yeah, no, it's...
Did you not get the memo?
I mean, what's kind about telling survivors that they're lying?
I'm currently working on a video going point by point through the content nuke and debunking the obviously incorrect claims. But today, I just want to take a quick look at the fallout of this nuke. Because Hassan is still averaging 40,000 live viewers, Ethan is still widely hated by the internet, and Ela Klein is losing business partnerships. The content nuke aimed for Hassan has backfired in an incredibly satisfying manner. Today's broadcast is brought to you by viewers like you. Become a member today and unlock exclusive content at patreon.com/NorthstarRadio. On the first episode back, Ethan basically himself off reacting to his own video.
Oh, you missed it? Let me go back.
Oh, yeah, we gotta see that.
I was doing some high level here, Dan. I had to do a tutorial for this part.
Flag in the middle of campus, carried it to a mob by the gate that were communicating with the angry mobs outside of campus.
Untrained, inbred asses shipped into southern Lebanon, telling us that we are all inbred and that we have no culture.
Oh, again.
I believe it was a some kind of block swipe.
Yeah, block.
Yeah.
Very good.
And this is where Ethan's cognitive state comes into question, because this dude is so clearly not doing okay. While reacting to Hassan's response to the content nuke, Ethan claims that he's never tried to be a comedian.
Very intelligent. Definitely not a hack ass, failed ass, dumbass comedian.
Bro, I've never tried to be a comedian, a failed comedian. What are you talking about? It's not even a sore spot for me or anything, because I'm not a comedian. I've never tried to be a professional comedian.
This is despite Ethan calling himself a professional comedian over a dozen times throughout his career.
I'm a comedian. That's my job. I'm a comedian, right? I'm trying to make a joke. I know it looks crazy. I'm a comedian and people are laughing. Unlike you, I'm a comedian, not a journalist, so I have a little more leeway. I'm a comedian, you know what I mean? I criticize people. I'm a comedian. First of all, I'm a comedian, so anything I say being considered defamation is almost like impossible. I had an idea, you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. I'm a comedian, you know, I'm out here, I'm in different lanes. I'm a professional comedian. Are any of them? I'm a professional comedian, you know what I mean? I'm the last line of defense, okay? I'm a professional comedian. Do you know that?
You know you're winning the debate when you start bringing up theories about Hassan's dog, Kaya, or who cooks him food off camera.
Comedian, in air quotes.
Ooh!
I didn't even hear what you said.
Not funny.
Air quotes.
Not funny. It's just like you're a socialist. By the way, theory time, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Hassan says he adopted his dog. He went all over LA looking for the perfect dog. Oh, I went to all of these pounds. I couldn't find the perfect dog. But then magically, off camera, I found on Craigslist this post where they were giving away $20,000 designer dogs. And I was so lucky. Hassan Piker. Can anybody find me a Craigslist post where they're giving away $20,000 designer dogs? Because I'd like to inquire. He bought that dog, and he doesn't want to admit it, obviously. And by the way,
I don't know.
That's not the only lie he tells about his personal life. I did a story about it, but people didn't pick it up. But I don't give a f. This guy's a piece of shit. People need to ask Hassan who's cooking his chicken off screen. Who's cooking that chicken? Who's taking care of him? There's something he goes, don't tell anyone though, for obvious reasons. Somebody's cooking his chicken, and they don't look like they're getting a piece of the pie either. You know what I mean? They're not on that socialist. They're not on that socialized workplace salary. You know what I mean? Cooking chicken's a big deal. That's integral to his daily routine. Of course she's entitled to a % of his profits. Duh. Socialism, bro. Live it, bro. Live it. Be the socialist you say you are.
I think this is an important time to mention that it's well-known lore that Ethan was neglected as a child and was often sent to school with zero food to eat and zero lunch money.
My parents didn't take care of me as a kid. When they cooked, which was rare, it was just awful. I didn't eat. I would starve. It was that bad. I used to go to school. My parents wouldn't give me money, and they didn't make me a lunch. I would just starve. I would beg for food from my friends. Straight up, I would beg for food from my friends. I was a homeless child.
Ethan can't even fathom the idea of a loving parent.
His whole shtick for the past year has been saying liberal Zionist talking points and then getting mad at everyone when they go, "Are you a Zionist?"
What liberal... Bro, the fantasy world that they've built is incredible. What is a liberal Zionist talking point?
Ethan did so much research for this video, but has yet to understand what a liberal Zionist talking point is. Here are just a few examples.
People who like to criticize the army in Israel need to understand that it's a daily threat, that something needs to happen about it. It's not like we have a choice.
When you talk about privilege, let's talk about someone who's going to UC Berkeley, paid by their parents, $200,000 tuition on campus protesting Israel. Do you find that ironic?
I personally think it's so ironic. I don't know, it's kids sitting here in like beautiful California criticizing it, like you don't even know what you're talking about.
What you hear is people criticizing national security and calling Israel like apartheid, and that they shouldn't have fences, or that Israel should be a one state with Palestinians and Israel's all living together. They should reduce the borders and remove the gate. That to me seems like super ignorant.
It is, because when I grew up, I couldn't really take a bus. I was afraid of blowing up.
Right.
And now it doesn't really happen, so the wall did help.
If there's a state of Palestine, it makes sense. But if you're in one state, all that's going to happen is like everybody is trying to bring as many people there as possible. And like by the time, there frankly are a lot of Palestinians, right, in the area. And once the Palestinians outnumber the Jews, basically Anything is fair game for the Jews. Anything.
So in this response, Hassan calls out Ethan for, quote, crying like a bitch in their last conversation on Palestine.
You can talk to me in person, big dog. You got my phone number. We can have a conversation on your stream. We can have a conversation on my stream. Last time, I had the baby gloves on, and you cried like a bitch after doing Teddy Fresh ads in the midst of our genocide coverage.
Ethan sees this as an opportunity to dunk on Hassan for being some sort of toxic masculinity frat bro.
So Hassan says, last time, which was our last conversation on his stream, I had the baby gloves on, which was part of, I was like, dude, why are you patronizing me? And he goes, and then you cried like a, once again, this dude is against toxic masculinity. Apparently he's a role model for leftist values. The frat bro veneer is, it's rearing its head. I'm telling you, this whole left-wing illusion is falling to the wayside. You say I cried like a bitch.
And only 2 days after the fact, Ethan went on a misogynistic rant about denims, where he called her a disgusting bitch several times. Of course, while his crew was dead silent.
And yes, she is a fucking bitch. Somebody that laughs in the face of other rape victims and immediately calls them liars, that's a fucking bitch of a person.
There are reports of Palestinian women in captivity talking about that experience.
Let's see. I found one of the sources. One of them ones that you quoted was like, I don't even know what the this is. Care.com. It's literally just like a little blurb. That's a huge claim. 15 Palestinian women were, what? I don't know what this is. What is this? Is this a source?
You're asking if it's credible.
Yeah, yes, Care is credible. I think, at least.
What is
Care is
there's no source. She is earning the coveted distinction of being a f***ing bitch. Congratulations. Enjoy the distinction. I've come here and I have made the distinction. I have decreed, let it be known, that denims is a dumb f***ing bitch. She deserved that. What she was doing, I'm standing by every syllable of that, okay? What she did was abhorrent. And by the way,
oh, and I got another shout out in this video. Thanks for keeping the Comrade Casey spirit alive.
You spent the next year constantly ripping into, suspiciously, a lot of, not myself, but other people of color. I'm not calling myself a person of color. I know it's going to get clipped out of context here as well, and then you're going to be like, meh, 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 whatever. No, just noticing that you have just been going after a lot of...
This guy is really throwing spaghetti at the wall. He's accused me of being racist. And that, to me, is like, my eyes rolled all the way in the back of my head if I had a seizure. Going after brown people, I'm assuming he's talking about people like Frogan and others who, by the way, I have never attacked unprovoked. Every single time I've talked about Frogan was a direct response to her. Every time. So what, she's brown? That's your takeaway? Is that because she's brown? That's the only reason I care that she's making fun of October 7th victims? That she's brown? That's for real? Are you being serious right now? Are you actually being serious right now? You're actually making this point right now. Okay, exactly. This is the brown people that he's talking about. Yeah, Casey, Comrade Casey, who's waiting for a hot, bodacious hijabi babe in the park.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Let's not forget about that. That's what woke leftist non-toxic masculinity looks like.
So this is the part of the video that I love so much. Because Ethan did basically zero research for his big content nuke that took 2 months, he makes a fool of himself twice with this one clip. First, it's on H3 Show 105, where Ethan reacts to a compilation of Hassan calling Jewish supremacists inbred.
Inbred. Douchebags in the background.
Like, there's a just dude standing back there.
Entirely comprised of messy.
And this is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just benign dudes. Just I don't know what the they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or boxes or something, like they're helping. And he's going, oh, look at these. It's like, bro, who are you? Who are you? Like, how dare you?
Yeah, so Ethan just straight up admits that he used footage as evidence in his content nuke without even understanding the context of the clip itself. It's almost like he didn't clip this himself from the original source, but instead found the clip online, probably on one specific subreddit. In this clip, Hassan is watching a group of Jewish supremacist Nazis, basically, blocking aid trucks from entering Gaza and stealing and destroying the aid inside. They're not doing charity like Ethan thinks they are.
This comes just days after Israeli settlers blocked aid trucks headed to Gaza through the occupied West Bank from Jordan. Footage of the incident shows settlers raiding the aid trucks, throwing food into the road and setting fire to vehicles at the Tarkumia checkpoint near Hebron in the occupied West Bank. Palestinian truck drivers say they fear for their lives after the attack.
We went to the checkpoint, and after the check, we were surprised to see settlers on the roundabout of the checkpoint. They damaged the cars, they tore the tires off the trucks, they threw the contents of the truck on the ground. We gathered some of the products and sent some of those products onto a bulldozer and sent them to the sheep farms. Around 15 trucks were damaged. Their hull was damaged, windows of the trucks were broken, some drivers were beaten, some of the products were thrown away, and the whole loss for Hebron is around $2 million.
And then on H3 Show 107, Ethan reacts to a song watching this clip, but once again takes it out of context and makes himself look like a fool all over again.
And at a certain point, people are going to be like, you're using these sorts of clips out of context?
Bro, he is so pathetic. First of all, he hasn't watched the video. And this is like one of his main go-tos for any criticism. It's always like out of context, out of context, out of context. He hasn't watched the video. What's out of context, bro? Your reaction is out of context. You got no context.
Notice how you move the needle? You move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the...
But you didn't...
What is he talking about?
Apparently a chatter is calling him out like, he says, how do you know the context? You haven't watched the video. I'm assuming it was... But then he goes, oh, really? Well, you moved the goalpost. It's like, but you didn't answer. You didn't tell him what the context is. So there's no goal. There was no kick. When you move the goalpost, you're moving it further from the kick. There's no kick.
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect?
Can anybody tell me what the he's talking about? He hasn't watched it. He hasn't cited anything that's out of context. He's talking about, oh, you're incorrect and you like... What is he talking about? How do people watch him? He literally will talk and drone on about nothing. He just regurgitates words, just word vomit.
Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is.
Dude, you haven't seen it.
And also, notice how you move the needle? You move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the video.
You didn't do the context thing. You didn't explain
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect? I guess you do.
How do you know they're incorrect? He's not. What is he saying?
If you missed it, here's the part of the video Ethan very conveniently skips over.
Chatter was asking for how certain things are clipped out of context. Here, this is a great example. Douchebags in the background,
just dudes standing back there,
entirely comprised of messy.
And this is an ongoing like joke with this community. These are just benign dudes. I don't know what the f they're doing. It looks like they're doing charity or something. It looks like they've got water or box.
They're doing charity. Remember, by the way, this is a video that he quote unquote researched for months.
Or something like they're helping, and he's going, oh, look at these. It's like, bro, who are you? Who are you? Like, how dare you?
Guys, the Israeli police is investigating the attack on the Gaza aid convoy.
Israeli security forces are paid to stop this happening. They either could not or would not, but clearly did not prevent Israeli settlers attacking an aid convoy yesterday from the West Bank bound for Gaza, where, say aid agencies, hundreds of thousands of civilians face famine.
But during the unloading and loading, settlers attacked these trucks, destroying the products and burning them in a systematic act of sabotage.
A continuation of images seen yesterday as settlers destroyed food at the same crossing point.
So, does that make sense? Do you understand now? Every single clip that he used, every single one is exactly like this. Where's that one chatter who asked that question? I assume he f***ed off immediately after coming in and saying, like, this is, he said some other stupid shit. I mean, that's clearly not the messaging of the video. If you're saying his claim is you scared him, do you have any media literacy whatsoever? Do you think I need media literacy to understand a YouTube drama slop video? Like, what are you talking about? You're making it seem like this is a formative work. It's very clear what the intention of the video is. And also, notice how you move the needle, you move the goalpost. I said that it's out of context. You demanded I describe to you what the context is, and you immediately moved on, and you're like, well, that's not the major point of the.
But you didn't.
What is he talking about?
Apparently, a chatter is calling him out like, he says, how do you know the context? You didn't watch the video. I'm assuming it was it. But then he goes, oh, really? Well, you moved the goalpost. It's like, but you didn't answer. You didn't tell him what the context is. So there was no kick. When you move the goalpost, you're moving it further from the kick. There's no kick.
At a certain point, you have to understand, like, okay, well, if this is incorrect, do you like being incorrect?
Can anybody tell me what the he's talking about? He hasn't watched it. He hasn't cited anything that's out of context. He's talking about, oh, you're incorrect, and you like, what is he talking about? How do people watch him? He literally will talk and drone on about nothing.
I mean, how can you be so confident in your hallucinations that you make such a foolish error? I guess when your very progressive audience gets replaced with Destiny fans who flood your subreddit with clipped out of context footage, that's how it happens. Oh, but Ethan doesn't know Destiny, so that can't possibly be the case, even though this post and this post and this post and this post were either from the Destiny subreddit or from the H3 subreddit posted by someone active on the Destiny subreddit. I mean, just look at this chart from overlapping communities on Reddit. The blowback from the content nuke really started to materialize in H3 show 106.
Hello, my friends. We are here. We are back. There's just way too much to talk about. Never ending, guys. Appreciate y'all being here. Thank you to Gamer Subs for sponsoring us today. Thank you to the gang. What's up, people of the world?
The content nuke clearly didn't work as intended, so Ethan begins gleefully reacting to Trump saying he's going to ethnically cleanse the Gaza Strip, all the while Ethan blaming this on Hassan.
Trump has had some brilliant ideas on Gaza, once again reminding people that I voted and advocated for Kamala Harris, and Hassan did not.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. Just can't go back. If you go back, it's going to end up the same way it has for 100 years. I envision the world, people living there, the world's people. I think you'll make that into an international unbelievable place. I think the potential in the Gaza Strip
Gambling,
is unbelievable.
And you know he's going to call it like the Trump Strip.
Mara Gaza.
Mara Gaza.
Gaza.
And I'll tell you who wouldn't be clearing out Gaza to build casinos. Kamala Harris.
I think it's
I can with 100% certainty say that the two candidates are not the same. I did my part to stop this. I wish I could say the same for other folks. It's a shame. I want to say this right now. If you are a leftist who said abstained, I'm abstaining from voting for Kamala. If you are a leftist who said Kamala and Trump are the same on this issue. If you are a leftist who voted for Jill Stein, I say this, and I know you guys are and pissing the bed and doing everything you can to pretend like this take is like the worst, dumbest, most outlandish, and also probably racist thing you could say. This is all in your lap, and you don't get to say. All these people are gonna be like, Trump, I can't believe. No, you just sit down and take it, because this is all on you, and I don't give a what you say. This is what this kind of activism that Hassan and people like him, this is the outcome of their activism. It is, people need to start thinking about like, what is this level of activism we see of like extraordinarily extremist, zero nuance, straight up hateful, uncompromising, you know, what is the outcome of this level of activism? What have they done for Gaza? Literally, what have they done for Gaza? What have they done for Gaza? Serious, I'm being dead serious. They've done nothing. They are ineffective, completely worthless as advocacy goes. A total failed movement.
And then the CEO of Teddy Fresh joined in on the blowback. What up, Ela Kleiners? She posted this on her Instagram story. This artist I wanted to collaborate with decided I can't be associated with because I'm Israeli. I've followed him for years, always supported him, and I have an original painting of his at my house. When we talk about how serious the rise in anti-Semitism is, this is why it's scary for us. It's now so casual to just not want to associate with an Israeli just because I was born there. Where in this very short, polite email does it say anything about Ela being Israeli? I'm sorry, I can't be associated with this company. Thanks for the consideration. And Israel does not equal Judaism. How long is it going to take for these people to get this out of their heads? She then decided to call into the show and whine about her experience as a marginalized Israeli.
This is the result of Hassan's type of activism where there's zero space. Forget nuance. I mean, it's like they're just all or nothing. Like, I mean, that's just not how the world works. It's just not how the world works. Should I out him?
It's not Alex Pardee, he's a saint. He's the best person.
Yeah, Alex is a sweetheart.
I don't know if is it morally okay to say who he is. Whatever you guys think, I don't care.
I mean, if I say who he is, you'll probably just get a bunch of snarkers buying his art, but I don't care. People should be. I mean, listen, it's not right. What an asshole response to, like, it's almost like he's, yeah, and by the way, like, he doesn't even dignify you with the response of, like, it's like, no, you actually, I can't be associated with this company. That's it. And you guys have had a relationship, like, he knows you.
I'm just annoyed because it's not the first one. There's another person right now that is doing the same thing to me, somebody that I'm already working with. So, I don't know. This one really got to me because I have his art at my house, and it's like, what the f do I do with that? I appreciate the art. I don't want to destroy it, but I also don't want it.
And this is the result of this activism that Hassan. This is the result of Hassan's activism. This is what it resounds to: alienation, hate, racism, and zero progress for people in Gaza. Zero. I mean,
he actively didn't help make sure we don't get Trump in office, so...
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
No, I hope he's happy with, like, Trump-Landia that we're gonna get there. There should be a Hassan Street there, the Hassan Square.
That's a good point. Hassan Piker Way.
Yeah.
I'll advocate for that, yeah.
There are so many different explanations for this, and if this person really did know Hila and have a relationship with her already, there's no way the reason is because she's Israeli. They would have known that. Did they just find out she's Israeli? It could be that he saw recent clips of her, I don't know, agreeing with Rudy Giuliani about 2-year-old Palestinians, or calling Yoav Gallant a good guy, or even older footage of her saying the apartheid wall is a good idea for her safety, or I don't know, the f***ing content nuke on Hassan. You yourself admit that this guy is a fan of Hassan, so he's probably very supportive of Palestine. Chances are this dude probably assumed you were pro-Palestine, was proved otherwise, and politely told you he no longer wants to be associated with the company. Wait, what was the entire purpose of the content nuke on Hassan in the first place?
If you ever see Hassan rubbing shoulders with anyone from mainstream media, let them know politely, with all the civility in the world, what kind of person he is when he thinks mainstream media isn't watching. Help them understand that his name should be associated with people like Nick Fuentes and Alex Jones, other fringe, radical, political commentators. Number 2, Twitch must be held accountable. Twitch has proven that it will not change by choice, and so it is our moral imperative to enact that change through any reasonable...
These are all their sponsors, and listen, at a certain point, when you've pushed every button, pulled every lever, and nothing's working, when you've tried your best to give good faith feedback and you think that something is that important to you, like, you have, in my opinion, a moral obligation, and what I see as a moral obligation, to pull whatever lever you can. And I don't give a, I am not too proud, and I am not above, you know, I don't give a shit, right? Like, if you've done something dumb enough that you can get easily by an email to the sponsors, that's something you have to reckon and deal with. I've been dealing with that my whole career, okay?
I wasn't gonna say it.
No, I am. I'm not. I don't hide from it. Everybody knows that.
Right.
I've been dealing with it for my whole career, okay? And it's just, it's something you got to reckon with. It's something you got to deal with. But, like, be accountable, man. And, you know, I have become accountable for a lot of things that people always send to the sponsors, and it's something you deal with. That's just life. And I think it's insane that all these brands are associating with Twitch when it's become a safe haven for extremist politics.
We all recall YouTube's adpocalypse. It happened when ads were running over ISIS recruitment videos, and it caused a brand exodus. The same thing is happening now on Twitch, but instead of ISIS, it's the Houthis, Hamas, and Hezbollah. Dan Clancy's refusal to moderate extremists is the only reason for any of this. He is the sole person to blame. He had so many opportunities to stop this.
If you look back at the adpocalypse that took place on YouTube, we all got so hard. There was years of the revenue being dogs. I lost 90% of my ad revenue when that happened, and I didn't have sponsors at the time. That was like 100%. That was all my income was from that.
When the apocalypse was happening, were you mad at the people who pointed out that ads were on ISIS videos?
Yes.
The nuke headed for Hassan turned around, penetrated the Iron Dome, and hit the Teddy Fresh offices. I'm sorry, but that is so incredibly hilarious. Of course, Ethan then went to Instagram to write, "I'm going to answer this because I've seen Hila getting enough from scumbags on the internet. This is someone she has had an existing relationship with. They have never had an issue with any of our conversations over the years. There is no reason for the shortness of the answer as they've been amicable and friendly until now. They're also a Hassan fan and active in online activist circles that target us. You like to hope that people can prioritize a personal relationship and see through the bullshit people say about us, but it's not always like that. Also, don't know why some of you guys have a hard time believing this. Brad Does Music was literally canceled for taking a picture with us and forced to apologize. This has been a constant issue for Israeli artists since October 7th. Yeah, if you run defense for the IDF and say that 2-year-old Palestinians are taught to kill Americans, this should happen to you. I mean, in the same episode, only minutes earlier, Ethan called out creators for Palestine because apparently raising $1.6 million is negligible and doesn't actually help people in Palestine. Take a wild guess as to who was one of the main organizers of that charity event.
Creators for Palestine raised $1.6 million. That's fantastic. Literally negligible. They've received billions of dollars. It's a good thing. Has $1.6 million had an outcome on anything happening in Gaza? Absolutely not. Has it helped people? Sure. Has it helped the actual movement? No. Raise money. That's good. That's the easiest thing you can do is just give money, right? Good. Let's talk about real activism. Let's talk about enacting meaningful change. Total failures.
Yeah, no wonder people don't want to work with you guys. Nearly 100 of some of the most popular YouTubers and Twitch streamers were a part of that. You're just guaranteeing that you're hated across the internet at that point.
It's not real activism. It didn't make a single difference in Gaza. He's lost his mind. It's crazy how much I used to look up to H3. They were the fathers of fair use, and now he's just sitting here crashing out for days on end because Hassan Piker won't watch his silly little class project. That $1.69 million, and I put the 9 there because it was 1.693 million, so it's pretty close to 1.7, so we'll round up. That $1.69 million helped so many individuals, and no, it absolutely did not solve the crisis. That's not what we set out to do. If we had the power to do that, we would have done that 1,000 times over, but no amount of YouTubers coming together is gonna solve what's happening in Gaza. We wanted to do 2 things: use our platform to spread awareness and help in the ways that we can and raise the money that we can. And if you can't understand that, Ethan, if you can't mentally understand that that's activism, you're an idiot. We pulled together creators from every single corner of the internet, people who have nothing in common, people who have never, ever talked about any political topic in public, and we got them to speak out about Palestine. The whole point was to get people who have never talked about these kinds of issues, who have never cared about these kinds of issues, and put them in front of them, and I think we did exactly that. From the Try Guys to Curtis Connors to everybody that we had together in that room, and reached so many corners of the internet and reached so many more people than we'd ever had before. That's activism. And then beyond that, VidCon was 2 weeks later, and I can't tell you how many creators came up to me and said, thank you for doing that, asked on how they could be a part of the next event we do, asked what they could do from their own communities and their own platform because they've been terrified to speak out. But seeing guys like Curtis Connor, seeing guys like the Try Guys put their whole platforms out there on the line and say, I don't care what the US government says about where they're gonna send their dollars and who they're gonna weaponize, I'm going to support this human rights violation. That's the activism, Ethan. It's using your platform to spread awareness. And on top of that, you're just implying that none of us did anything else. Lots of us marched at rallies. Lots of us spoke to our lawmakers, called our senators, called our local government officials, and made it very clear this is an issue to us. And here's a clip from his content nuke where he talks about how he donated $6,500 to Palestine.
Despite what you've read on TikTok and Twitter, I've donated $6,500 to a Palestinian charity after the war started.
Hey, Ethan Klein, thank you for the dono. Ethan Klein gave $6,500.
When he was called out about this on Twitter and on Threads, he decided to come after Stanzi Potenza and go out of his way to say, how much money did you personally donate? That's such a stupid conversation point. So many creators, because I run Creators for Palestine, I see the back end, I see every donation. I can't tell you how many creators donated $10,000 plus $25,000 and more, but didn't make a public statement about it and didn't try and say, hey, look at me, I'm a good guy, I did something that's the most basic human necessity. Hey, I'm a millionaire, so I decided to give some of my money. And unlike Ethan, didn't make it a shield to say, hey, I don't have these horrible political beliefs. No, because I donated $6,500 to Palestine. Therefore, I made a difference. And then he's going to come out and criticize creators for Palestine. And for what? Ethan, I was a massive fan of you growing up. I can't tell you how much I looked up to you as the father of fair use and for dunking on horrible, cringy people on the internet, but you've become exactly what you were against back in the day. You have the kind of life people dream of. You're a multi-millionaire, you got your kids, you have everything you could want, and you spend every day sitting on the internet crying and whining and moaning. Get offline and get your mental health in order. You have absolutely lost it. And don't you dare ever disrespect creators for Palestine or any other charity again. When you're sitting there talking, you're calling us to do some real activism. What the hell have you done? Was your content new real activism? Was telling everybody that, oh my God, big reveal, Hassan Piker's a socialist. Of course he's a socialist. He's been a radical socialist the whole time. That's who he's been. That's not real activism either. So why don't you get off, go enjoy your millions of dollars, your wonderful life, and then do some real activism if you care about it, instead of sitting in your stupid podcast chair, yelling at your employees, treating everybody you know like crap, because you know, Ethan, multiple people in your life haven't spoken to you because they're nervous of how you'd react in public, but privately, tons of your friends have talked to me and to others about how worried they are about you and your mental health because you've absolutely flying off the handle. Get it together.
Ethan then went to Instagram to try and make amends, I guess. But he really just doubled down. Oh look, another dipshit leftist lying about me on Twitter. Anyone remember me saying this yesterday? If I thought raising money is a bad thing, why would I donate $6,500 of my own money? By the way, since you bring it up, how much did you personally give? The fact is that raising money is negligible when you are helping the ethnic cleansing candidate win. This is a concept that is so obvious and easy to understand, but somehow when faced with criticism of their surface level and ineffective activism, they turn into lying baby brain propagandists. Ethan, say money bad. Either you are dumb as or just a straight up liar. Either way, you scumbag. I have zero patience for anyone participating in this pathetic hate bandwagon. I'm not really sure what he means by helping the ethnic cleansing candidate win. I mean, he himself voted for Kamala. Wasn't she the vice president during the ethnic cleansing? And didn't she say that if she won the presidency, she would change nothing about what Joe Biden did in Palestine?
President Biden has tried unsuccessfully to end the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza. Would you do anything differently? For example, would you withhold some U.S. weapons shipments to Israel? That's what a lot of people on the progressive left want you to do.
Let me be very clear. I'm unequivocal and unwavering in my commitment to Israel's defense and its ability to defend itself. And that's not going to change. I've met with the families of the American hostages. Let's get the hostages out. Let's get the ceasefire done.
But no change in policy in terms of arms and so forth.
No, we have to get a deal done.
So in the end, the nuke did detonate. Just on the wrong target. I mean, guys, you're big boys. There are consequences for your actions. And targeted hate and harassment campaigns against very popular people on the internet is probably not going to end well, especially when you yourself, over the past year and a half, have really just been a bad faith actor in this whole Israel-Palestine discussion. You say you're pro-Palestine, but almost every day you talk shit about people that are pro-Palestine. You say you don't support the Israeli government, but whenever they bomb a hospital, you say, there's no way they did that.
Their bases are under hospitals. They shoot from schools. They embed themselves in the civilian population. They even dress as civilians when they fight.
You're obviously under the impression that Hassan hate videos get clicks, and you're not wrong. But a dead horse can only be beaten for so long before it becomes a rotten puddle of goo. Thank you for watching NSR. Peace and love. Free Palestine.
Oh my God, big reveal. Hassan Piker's a socialist. Of course he's a socialist. He's been a radical socialist the whole time. That's who he's been.
Move towards something that you want more that you want, right? Like, you surely understand that, Ethan Klein. Don't you advocate voting for Joe Biden even though he does genocide? Don't you understand compromise in the short term for supposed long-term benefits? Which isn't even on the same plan as what Hassan is saying here, by the way. But like, you're presenting this as a gotcha as if Hassan hides who he is. He does not. If anything, Hassan is not radical enough, by the way.
For a much lighter form of propaganda. With robust social safety nets.
Radicalization funnel, catch them while they're young, as they say.
And protections for workers.
This is like unhinged conspiracy theorist shit, dude.
Higher unionization rate. A lighter form, while simultaneously still doing agitated propaganda that goes beyond social democratic ideas.
Hell, he's proclaimed it loudly that he is a self-described propagandist.
So I'm a propagandist.
And? Well, no, for the record. You think you're not a propagandist, even though you don't say it? You like admit it. Admit it. Like, propaganda is not a negative term. It just means that you advocate for certain ideas.
No, I'm not calling it propaganda. No,
Only really in English does propaganda have a negative connotation.
Just saying. I'm saying I am. Okay, well then, I'm saying I am. I just want to put it.
Propagandist is much more than someone with a bias. It's someone who knowingly lies to further their
No, it's not.
political agenda.
And then I had a terrifying vision.
Propagandist is someone who spreads propaganda for certain political ideas. That's all that means. Propaganda can also, in other languages like Spanish, it can also just mean like an ad. Like a shampoo ad can be called propaganda. That's all that it means.
Had I been duped? Was Hassan presenting a Trojan horse to my community where he was just a left?
Had you been duped? You're a 40-year-old fucking man. This is one of the people with the most documented existences alive today. Had you been duped by him? You're acting like you're a poor little baby boy who was groomed into like a gang or something against your will. When you're talking about like you made a podcast with this guy who is one of the most documented human beings in existence today.
Democrat like myself, and as he said in the previous video, was funneling them into radicalization and turning them against me.
Liberals are some of the easiest to manipulate people on the fucking planet, dude.
I learned how much he hates liberals.
Dude, I hate
You
liberals,
didn't know this
dude.
beforehand? Like half of these clips are probably from like years before you even made the podcast with him.
I do.
What's wrong with hating liberals, by the way? Liberals are the biggest snakes in the world. You're a great example of that because you claim to be pro something that you're not, and you try to like shift the needle to the point where like you're framing pro-Israel Zionist goals as pro-Palestinian, and that is so much worse than being like Netanyahu and just outright saying what you truly and unequivocally believe and who your ideas serve to benefit and who they serve to hurt. You're way worse as a liberal. You're way harder to fight as a liberal than the far right are, because you know Netanyahu is open and obvious about what he is. You believe in a lot of the same shit. Like 90% of the most important stuff that he believes in, you believe in, like maintaining a Jewish majority, maintaining a Jewish ethno-state, keeping Palestinians who you expelled out of your country. But you present yourself as being like fundamentally different to him based only on the other 10%. Like, okay, Netanyahu wants the rest of the West Bank. I don't think we should take the West Bank though. That's it. Wow, man, you're so fundamentally different. You're definitely not a Zionist.
I hate them. I hate them so viciously.
Did he secretly despise me this whole time?
I'm sorry, dude. I hate liberals so much.
I mean, just from the clips that I've seen of that show, which most of which I've seen like during this, like Hassan treated Ethan like literally like a child. Like there was like Hassan's not even. I don't even have a great opinion of him, by the way. I mean, I'm gonna piss off his fans here, but I don't think he's the smartest political commentator in the world. I don't think he knows that much. But he makes Ethan Klein look like a baby. Literally, he makes Ethan Klein look like a 12-year-old learning about basic concepts for the first time. So it's so funny that he's like, was I duped here? Like, I mean, you were duped like in the same way that I guess like an 8-year-old is duped into believing that Santa Claus is real.
Did this man sit next to me for 2 years and pretend to be my friend?
Dude, liberals are a burden on this planet,
That's
dude.
crazy.
Liberals are the most like
this is so negative that Hassan made it.
Gummy, vile, fucking idiots. Liberals are incredibly stupid. I hate these petulant liberals, dumb fucking liberals.
What else is someone this sociopathic capable of?
Liberal.
Sociopathic how? The conspiracy framing, I love it.
Was I being manipulated this whole time?
That was my fear anyway, regardless of his true beliefs.
Poor little baby boy.
That broke my trust in him, and I pretty much ended the show immediately. And
you ended the show because you couldn't handle that you were being called out for being a pro-Israel Zionist. We know.
I felt guilty for my participation in mainstreaming Hassan. And for that, I apologize. I should have done more research, and I should have looked more deeply into who I was getting in bed with before they gave me chlamydia. Sorry, Hila. Over the past year since the show ended, I continue to watch Hassan
I'm gonna make this faster because it's taking way too long, especially because my responses are far too in-depth, more in-depth than this deserves.
and propagandize terrorist organizations. And every time it happened on Twitch, I would say, man, this time surely he went too far, and someone's got to do something. But as the time went on, nothing happened, and his views got more and more radical and more disturbing. I feel it's my obligation, after mainstreaming someone like Hassan, to take this on. And so
you didn't mainstream someone like Hassan. He's been mainstream. He's mainstream, actually mainstream. You aren't mainstream at all. You're a guy who has like a YouTube podcast where you talk about celebrity drama. Hassan's actually like featured in the mainstream media and stuff, and has been for like 5+ years. Like he was mainstreaming you.
It was war. Nuclear war.
I stand before you following the footsteps.
Okay, I'm not going to watch his like extremely supposedly funny intro that he probably paid someone to make, but I do want to note that after that he has an ExpressVPN sponsorship. let's look at who ExpressVPN is. So ExpressVPN is a company that is owned by a certain Israeli businessman, Teddy Sagai. Teddy Sagai is a compulsive donator to the IDF. He has donated millions to the IDF, around at least 5 million from what I've been able to see. He attends like the Friends of the IDF gala. He's been doing this for decades. So basically, Ethan Klein's video is sponsored by a company owned by fanatical genocidal Zionists who funds the IDF. Very much on brand. Couldn't expect much more from Ethan Klein, could ya?
ExpressVPN.com/H3HD for 4 free months, or scan. I am here.
So this next part is all like just Ethan trying to be funny about Twitch and stuff. I'm gonna get to the part where he starts talking about the Houthis, who are like his example of Hassan Piker supporting terrorism.
Or that designer dog.
This breed's stunning fluffy coat comes with a price. Chow Chows shed all
no. Very cute, by the way, but those are expensive. The point is, we have the biggest political streamer on our platform that is influencing media and influencing young kids everywhere. If we can normalize terrorism, if we could rebrand it, then fuck the U.S. Navy. You know how much
I want to get to him talking about supposed terrorism.
Take a look at a recent media analysis by Ad Fonte, which rated Hassan as the most extreme left-wing, untrustworthy media source on the...
I mean, dude, if Ad Fonte said so, I guess it's true, man.
Mike, let's start with our good friend Luffy here and his organization, the Houthis. And yes, this is what it looks like. They are hiling Hitler. The Houthis...
Firstly, Rashid is not a Houthi. He has clarified this many, many times. He's not a Houthi. He's just a Yemeni citizen. He might support the Houthis, but he's not a member of the organization. He said this many times. There's no reason why we shouldn't take his word on this, any more than we shouldn't take Hila Klein's word on her only being a secretary in the IDF, Ethan, until you can provide any evidence otherwise. He is not a Houthi, and it's ridiculous that you keep saying so. Not that it would be bad if he was. It would be good. He's like, they are hiling Hitler. Dude, in the Arab world, the Roman salute is used all the time. It has nothing to do with Hitler. It's used quite simply as a normal salute. It was originally picked up by Pan-Arabism in like the 30s and the 40s, and it's just been sort of like a staple of certain like Arab armies and such ever since. Here is the normal Lebanese army, which is not the army that fights Israel, by the way. These guys do nothing. I don't even know why they exist. They never fight Israel. Here's the regular Lebanese army doing the Roman salute as well. In short, this is just a totally different context in the Arab world, and it has nothing to do with hailing Hitler. You dishonest piece of shit. Again, this is just emblematic of Ethan basically relying totally on narrativization. Like, he never tries to explain things, never tries to like provide evidence for his points. He just tells you what to believe and moves on if it's sort of self-evident. And most of the clips that he plays of like Hassan, he doesn't even try to respond to. It's ridiculous. It's pure narrative. It's preaching to a choir of morons, of lobotomized morons. His strategy here is not to actually deal with the facts. It's to try and convince the viewer that there are a bunch of negative associations that this Rashid guy has. Like, he's a Houthi, those are terrorists. He's a terrorist. He's not even a Houthi. And there's no explanation for how the Houthis are terrorists. Look, you know Hitler. Hitler's bad. These guys are doing a salute that looks oddly like the Hitler salute, right? Ignore the context and everything. They're hailing Hitler. That's his strategy here, because on the actual facts, he's going to fall over, as you'll see.
Are an Islamic military group. They're known for their cruel measures, forcibly recruiting child soldiers.
They're known for their cruel measures. Bunch of zero context headlines. You can read this one, for example, and this is an article by DW, which is obviously a German and thus incredibly unreliable. You can see in this article, for example, right there on the screen, it says that both the Houthis and the government do the same thing. And it's just criminal for him as well, not to provide any context for how and why this might happen. Like the fact that Yemen has been under a brutal assault by the Saudis, by his own country, the USA, and his other country, Israel, for the last more than a decade. What has happened in Yemen can accurately be described as a genocide, and he does not seem to want to mention this. He does not seem to want to mention who has been carrying out the genocide. It's not the Houthis, it's the Saudis. It's the Yemeni government who they back. This is like talking about how brutal the French resistance are in World War II without providing the context of who they were fighting, why they were fighting them, and the broader war. It's insane to do this. It's just so dishonest. It's such bullshit.
Shelling civilian areas and blocking food from entering already famine-ruined parts of Yemen.
It's insane, by the way, that he's blaming famine and starvation in Yemen on the Houthis without mentioning what the actual cause of that is. The Saudi blockade, which is still ongoing, by the way, the Saudi blockade against Yemen, ongoing since 2016, which is the actual cause of the famine in Yemen. You know, the Saudi blockade backed by the US and Israel, that blockade, as it says here on Wikipedia, for example, the main cause of the crisis is the ongoing since Yemeni civil war. Aid cannot effectively reach the population because of the ongoing civil war and the blockade of Yemen by Saudi Arabia. To try and blame the Houthis for the famine imposed upon Yemen by the Saudis in two ways: by them backing the incredibly unpopular and illegitimate former Yemeni government, by them bombing the country, massacring people, obviously, and by them literally blockading the country and intentionally preventing food imports from entering. To blame that on the people who are fighting against them, to not even mention the context of any of this, is utterly fucking crazy. This guy is just a genocide supporter at this point. Like, this level of decontextualization of the Saudi-American genocide in Yemen, we can only assume that he supports it. Otherwise, why would he do propaganda like this for the fucking Saudi genocidal monarchy? There's no other possible reason.
They've also set up landmines in agricultural spots.
So I just want to note here that like half of Ethan's sources for this section basically just Saudi state propaganda. You can see here, this is ArabNews.com. Arab News is an English daily newspaper published in Saudi Arabia. It is owned by Prince Turki bin Salman Al Saud, the brother of the ruling Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, Mohammed bin Salman. So this is literally Saudi state propaganda, dude. Dude, you uncritically cited a Saudi state propaganda article. An article released by the Saudi state at the height of the genocide in 2018 to claim that the evil Houthis were mining like everywhere to like intentionally kill civilians like a Batman supervillain or something. You know, this article that is based on them saying that they spoke to Yemen's army, aka the Saudi-backed illegitimate puppet government that the Houthis have been fighting. And they had the source for this according to this newspaper owned by the brother of the fucking head of state of Saudi Arabia. Dude, he just uncritically cites fucking Saudi state propaganda against the people who are fighting against that genocide of Yemen. He does this multiple times. Just flashes a headline on the screen that he got from fucking Saudi state propaganda. And he accuses fucking Hassan of being paid. Dude, who's paying you? Because we know the Saudis actually pay people for this shit. Like, your conspiracy theory about the fucking Houthis paying Hassan to spread their propaganda is absurd. A conspiracy theory about you being paid by the Saudis is not. And especially if you being paid by billionaire Zionist businessmen, which you factually have been due to your ExpressVPN sponsorship, huh? You took money from someone who donated $5 million to the fucking Israeli Defense Force terrorist organization. So yeah, Saudi state propagandist Ethan Klein. Pro-genocide propagandist Ethan Klein, using Saudi state propaganda like Goebbels tier propaganda to legitimize the Saudi genocide of Yemen. Dude, if you're not going to analyze your sources, tell us why they're reliable, how they're not just propaganda. Obviously, Western countries who are aligned with the Saudis, given the Saudis are genociding Yemen, they're going to support the Saudi line on this, so you can't simply rely on every single fucking thing you see reported on the Western media. But ultimately, he's saying all of this to avoid the main point here, which is that why do people support what the Houthis are doing in regards to the Gaza genocide? That's what this is actually about, which is the blockade that they declared and duly carried out until recently, very recently, until like a couple of weeks ago, or a month ago rather, against Israel and Israel-aligned shipping in order to try to do something to stop the Israeli genocide of Gaza. That is what Ethan is opposed to here. Even if the Houthis were like the absolute worst people in the world, which to be clear, they're not. Ethan Klein is someone who previously has made clear that he's a lesser evilist. He supports Joe Biden, even though Joe Biden does genocide, for example. He scolds people for not voting for Joe Biden, even. In the context of Yemen, the Houthis, even if all of this were true, they're still less bad than the Saudi-backed former government who they have deposed. They are still less bad than their enemies. So using your own logic, you should at least like begrudgingly support them until something better comes along. But you don't. This lesser evil logic is only ever applied to imperialist countries and never to their victims. You should think about why that is. But ultimately, it doesn't really matter how terrible they are. You know, Iran launches missiles at Israel in retaliation for what they do in Gaza, and I support that, but I'm certainly not pro-Iranian government. Even if the Houthis were terrible, horrible, evil people, as you're trying to claim, their blockade against Israel for what it's doing in Gaza would still be just, would still be good. And I'm glad they're doing it. They're one of the few people in the world who are trying to do anything for Gaza. Gaza, a place besieged not just by Israel, but by all of the most powerful countries in the world who are supporting Israel. No one has taken any real action for them, aside from really Yemen and a tiny little bit of action taken by Hezbollah. I guess the Hezbollah action proportionately was okay, I suppose, and Iran. And I do not really give a shit, honestly, about you splitting hairs about how bad these people are. Because ultimately, you don't care about how bad they are. What you're against is not that. What you're against is what is them taking action against Israel, because you are an Israeli Zionist ethno-nationalist. You are against them taking real action, trying to take action to stop the genocide in Gaza, trying to impose some sort of penalty on the countries carrying out said genocide and supporting it. That's ultimately what this is about, and we can't lose sight of that. This is bullshit. It's not what he's worried about here at all. He knows that the most difficult position here is actually arguing against the blockade and the merits of the blockade alone. So he's trying to like prime the viewer and poison the well by saying the people carrying out the blockade are bad. Look at all these bad things they do. Totally out of the context of why they're like this, why Yemen is so poor, the fact that the imperialist countries that he supports are a massive part of the reason for why the Middle East and Yemen in particular is relatively poor, and that said poverty is what breeds reactionary views and sentiments.
Virtually worthless. Women have virtually no rights, and homosexuality, of course, is punishable by death.
What do you fucking expect? Do you want these people living in abject fucking poverty in the midst of a fucking genocide to have like the most to be like enlightened women's rights advocates and legalized gay marriage or something, dude? Do you know what the best way to combat poverty in Yemen would be? For your country not to commit genocide there. For the USA and Israel not to have backed a Saudi genocide there. That's what would be the best way to combat this stuff in Yemen. To combat these regressive attitudes in Yemen. But you literally are not even going to mention any of that. You're in fact going to frame what is in large part due to the Saudis as the fault of the fucking Houthis. And worse, you're doing all of this by posting Saudi state propaganda and ultimately supporting the Saudi genocide of Yemen. In doing so, you're siding with the Saudis here, who the Houthis mainly fight. Ethan, what happens if you're gay in Saudi Arabia? What do they do to women in Saudi Arabia, Ethan? Well, you just got by your fucking logic. Saudi Arabia also doesn't have the excuse for these reactionary views, given that it's not a poor country like Yemen is. How crazy it is that you're totally okay with spreading fucking Saudi propaganda when it's convenient for you in favor of that genocide of Yemen. You're totally okay with weaponizing the genocidal Goebbels Der Stürmer propaganda designed to legitimize the genocide of Yemeni people put out there by Saudi Arabia, which executes gay people. And then you turn around and say, whoa, these guys are evil because they do the same thing that the people whose propaganda I'm spreading here also do. Such a dumb motherfucker, Ethan Klein.
That lines up with leftist values. Now, just how little rights do women in the Houthis Yemen have? Well, according to this, there's been 1,108.
Well, according to what, man? What is this? I'll tell you what it is. This is a headline, Anadolu Ajansi, which is Turkish state media. Now, this might surprise you. In Yemen, Turkey supported the US and Saudi-backed former Yemeni government that Houthis have now overthrown. So obviously, Turkish state media is going to say something like this. Let's check out the evidence for this. It's based on a report. Let us look at like the website of one of the authors of this report. Now, just to be clear beforehand, obviously, sexism is going to be fucking rampant in a poor conservative country like Yemen, with or without the Houthis. And that is really to be expected because the way that Yemen is specifically a result of European colonialism, followed by now further European imposition onto Yemen via what has been a totally brutal genocidal campaign by Saudi Arabia and the US to essentially keep the country down as reprisal for them daring to try to overthrow the US-friendly government. It's more circular logic, right? Like, our imperialism is justified against these people because they have regressive social views, but those regressive social views are caused by poverty. Poverty which is imposed upon this country by the imperialism that ensures that these countries can never ever advance, can never ever get their people any sort of material alleviation from which generally, as Western countries themselves have shown over their own material advancements over the last 100, 200 years or so, breed progressive social progress on things like women's rights and gay rights. Not in the USA anymore, though. Ethan justifies all of his hatreds with circular logic, where the result of the thing that he supports being done to these people justifies that thing being done to them. Imperialists are always like this. Look out for it. So let's just look at one of the organizations cited by this Turkish state media report, like the Coalition of Women for Peace in Yemen. Check out their website, and they have nothing regarding like who funds them. They won't tell you about that. I wonder why. It's 100% the Saudis. They're not going to tell you that, though. There's no legal obligation for them to do so because, you know, they run outside of the confines of like US law, which is where organizations usually have to tell you this stuff, or EU law and stuff like that. So this organization is an initiative of Noura Al-Jari, who, according to her own About Me page here, was a member of the Ministry of Youth and Sports in Yemen, aka she was a former member of the outgoing Yemeni government, Saudi-backed government, and now she has formed this organization, which is called Women for Peace in Yemen. Now, you would think an organization that's for peace in Yemen would be like non-denominational, call out the atrocities of everyone. No. Specifically, it says here, our aim is to free women who have been arbitrarily detained by the Houthis. Only the Houthis. They don't care about anyone arbitrarily detained by the government, only the Houthis. It's almost like this organization barely even exists and is essentially just a propaganda front to, like, if you look at their social media handles, it's under Houthis. Under Houthis. It's all about opposing the Houthis, providing negative propaganda about the Houthis in English. They even have like a film, a trailer for a film, Detained Under the Houthis. It's like the entire point of this organization is just fairly lazy anti-Houthi propaganda for an English-speaking audience. I guarantee you, if you looked into like who funds this organization, who's really behind it, it would be Saudi Arabia. But don't worry, because he's about to cite another source soon enough that is much more directly and clearly Saudi Arabian. Like, he's basically citing negative propaganda in media with an incentive to provide negative propaganda about the Houthis to tell you why the Houthis are bad, which, even if all of it were true, is the same shit that the previous government was doing and would not delegitimize what Ethan really has a problem with, which is their blockade against the genocide being carried out by Israel.
81 violations committed by Houthi rebels against women, including torture, rape.
Wow, it said that in the headline. It must be true.
And murder. So,
Ethan does zero source analysis, zero critical analysis.
The Houthis have a very wholesome flag, as you can see here. It says, translated, Allah Akbar, death to America, death to Israel.
What's wrong with death to America and death to Israel? These are the two countries that have victimized the Middle East more so than anyone else. What's wrong with that? If you would be Middle East and you wouldn't hate America and Israel, especially being dirt poor as most people in Yemen are, I don't know. I don't think you're human.
And a curse upon the Jews, and that's all of them, not just the ones in Israel. And of course,
do you know what Jew means to someone in the Middle East? All that they know about Jewish people is that there is a state that calls itself the Jewish state in Israel that brutalizes people in the name of what they say is Judaism and Jewishness. If that's all that you knew about Jews, and you have a state that equates itself with Jews in general, and you take it at its word and you say, okay, well, I hate Jews then. Like, you have to at least put this within that context, but Ethan doesn't do that, does he? Here's what Israel does, okay? Israel brands people's faces with the Star of David. Here's a Palestinian man whose face was branded with the Star of David. Here's a salted field in Gaza with the Star of David in it. Here's another one, carved into the field with tank tracks. Israel is a country that claims that it's for Jews so much that the Israeli Supreme Court does not let Jews register their nationality on their identity card as Israeli because it says that doing so would undermine Israel's Jewishness because according to the Israeli state, Israelis don't exist, only Jews exist. So Israel is a state that says it's for Jews, by Jews, and carries out endless atrocities against everyone in the region, not just Palestinians, pretty much everyone they attack. And it does this while saying it's for Jews by Jews, as I just said. And Ethan Klein removes all of this context because that's all of these people know about Jews. These people see Israel say, I'm murdering you because I'm Jewish, I'm genociding you because I'm Jewish, and they say, well, okay, I'll take you at your word. And for Ethan Klein, the problem isn't that Israel says and does those things. It's that these dirt poor people living under the boot of the worst imperialism in the world, some of the worst atrocities in recent modern history have been carried out in Yemen especially. And he's like, whoa, they say they hate Jews? Whoa, they must have just sprouted out of the ground, anti-Semitic. It's appealing to basically, like, as I said earlier, this ignorant idea in the West that that Jews are like perpetually like concentration camp inmates, basically. When in the context of Israel is a state that says we are Jewish, we do all of this for Jews, while massacring, genociding people. Leaving that context out of something like this is utterly insane. It is utterly insane to expect like random poor people in Yemen or Palestine or whatever to see Israel doing that and to have like this enlightened perspective where they're like, no, Zionist and Jew is not the same. Particularly when you yourself equate Zionist with Jew. You do it all the time. I just want to show you a tweet that he showed earlier that I think I skipped over. So here Ethan Klein puts a tweet that Rashid Al-Khalad sent out saying, the execution that we carry out on all Zionists, with a picture of like a guy impaled on a pike. Here's what Ethan Klein said about it.
To kill Jews and put their heads on pikes.
So apparently, according to Ethan, he said that he wants to kill Jews and put their heads on pikes. The tweet says the execution that we'll carry out on all Zionists. So Ethan Klein is himself equating Zionists with Jews. And he's not anti-Semitic for that, apparently. Yet other people who take Israeli Zionists at their word that they represent all Jews and do the same, they are anti-Semitic. It's fine for him, but it's not fine for them. And this guy, by the way, he does differentiate between Jews and Zionists. He's posted a long thread. He shouldn't have had to. A long post on Twitter where he explained that he doesn't hate Jews, he just hates Zionists. He said, I would like to clarify that any Jewish person, Christian or Muslim, or any other who is innocent, we will never hurt them. We protect and ask them what they want. We stand for the oppressed, which is why we oppose Zionism. It is Zionist ideology that is wreaking havoc upon innocent Palestinians and Lebanese. This guy is a 19-year-old who grew up in a country destroyed by war, attacked everywhere by some of the most powerful countries in the world, and he gets this. Ethan Klein doesn't. Embarrassing.
And of course, victory to Islam. I get amused when these terrorists are like, we hate Jews, we want to kill Jews. And then people like Hassan are like, you're a fucking racist.
Dude, why are they terrorists? Why don't you tell us?
This is for saying that they just want to kill Jews and that they're terrorists, man.
What you meant to say is Hezbollah is Muslim.
You're not thinking deep enough about this topic.
I mean, I literally just refuted this a second ago. He tries to frame it as like them being born anti-Semitic or something, rather than this being a reaction to what Israel does and has done to everyone around them for their entire lives, for generations at this point.
My criticism of the Houthis' slogan do not factor into what they are doing. Of course, it is anti-Semitic, but contextualizing it matters. Yeah, it's really interesting because, like,
what they're doing means the anti-genocide blockade.
That is such wet.
I don't know why. Let's bring up like a comparison here. The British Empire was the most genocidal empire in the world during World War II. Was it bad that the British Empire fought the Nazis? Was that like a bad thing? Because they were so much worse than these Houthis ever were. But does that mean that it was bad for them to do like a good thing, like, you know, fight Hitler, fight Italy, fight Japan? I'm sure Ethan would say, no, of course not. You know, they were bad, but, you know, Hitler was worse, and it's good that they joined the war against him. It's good that they fought back. What Ethan is basically arguing here is that the anti-genocide blockade being carried out by the Houthis should be discarded and just by default thought of as terrible and bad, because according to his narrative, they are horrible people. Which, even if it were true, that wouldn't say anything about whether it's legitimate or not to carry out an anti-genocide blockade against Israeli and Western shipping that is allied to Israel.
Western-focused propaganda, like for a Palestinian to arrive at anti-Semitic opinions, okay?
This is just so nothing, man. There's no substance to this. Most of this is just Ethan confidently saying dumb shit, playing clips that he does not actually feel the need to debunk, and like what he seems to think are like epic editing flourishes that totally own his opponent.
They don't need to read Mein Kampf.
Dude, you are not funny. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Oh, I almost forgot the most fun one. They brought back slavery.
Ethan Klein. Source analysis time. This is the funnest part of the video. Ethan Klein, they brought back slavery. Let's fact check that. Here's evidence of this. 2 headlines. 1, slavery in Yemen by Al Jazeera. Let's look at that one. Slavery in
The lead is ours. We've taken
Yemen.
the lead. Stay on task.
Al Jazeera. Let's check it out. Despite government denials, this investigation uncovers evidence of slave labor in Yemen by Al Jazeera, 10 September 2014.
They've taken the lead.
Now, which government was in power on the 10th of December 2014? It's the previous government, the one that was Saudi-backed to fight against the Houthis. This video is about slavery in Yemen being covered up and enabled by the previous Yemeni government that the Houthis have overthrown. You stupid motherfucker. This is pro-Houthi propaganda, if anything. What's his other source? This is such a great demonstration of Ethan. Like, he just Googles shit, puts it there, puts a headline there, and acts like he's proven his claims when he fucking has not. Houthis restore slavery in Yemen. Let's check this one out. So this one is a 2019 article from Ashaq al-Awsat. What is Ashaq al-Awsat? According to Wikipedia, it is the newspaper of a private company that was founded with the approval of the Saudi royal family and government ministers, which is noted for its support of the Saudi government. The newspaper is owned by a member of the Saudi royal family. So this newspaper is a Saudi newspaper owned and run by the Saudi royal family to post pro-Saudi propaganda. The Saudis are like the main actors in a decade-long assault on Yemen by them and their puppet government in Yemen, which has resulted in something like 400,000 deaths. So is the Saudi government a reliable actor here? Is this something that we should take at face value just based on the headline? No, this is like citing fucking Joseph Goebbels to prove that the Jews are enslaving fucking Aryans or something, dude. Like, that is this bad. These are the people who caused this great suffering, this great genocide in Yemen, and you're just citing them unfucking critically when with this propaganda they just put out to delegitimize their enemies. This is like even dumber than the other stuff that he cited. What are the sources for this? Sources close to the group told the paper. Oh, whoa. Several local reports have confirmed this. Yemeni activists have revealed. They told us that there is slavery. A lawyer told us. A civilian told us. Experts confirmed this to us. There is literally nothing here. Oh, don't forget the U.S. State Department said so. You know, the U.S. State Department, the other main actor in this Yemeni genocide, in this genocide of Yemen, fighting against the Houthis, supporting the puppet government. Wow, Ethan, you just straight up cited fucking Saudi pro-genocide propaganda from 2019, by the way, when this genocide was still in full swing. Great source, you fucking dumbass. Like, this is insane. This man does not have a critical bone in his body. And this proves it. Like, from the thing of him like positively citing an embarrassing clip where he just took like a propaganda documentary about Uyghur death camps at face value, now to this with him just taking straight up made up Saudi propaganda at face value, as well as not even like looking at what that Al Jazeera video was actually about, which was about the slavery under the government that the Houthis are fighting and have largely deposed. Absolutely fucking unbelievable. And he just moves on like he's proven this. This took him like months to make. Just for a comparison of the quality of like the research, my latest video took me maybe 12 days to make. It's almost as long as this. And I don't know how this took him two fucking months to make. Like, it just further proves the level of incompetence that Ethan Klein operates under. Like, he's just so dumb, man. What else is there to say about this? Uncritically citing Saudi government made-up propaganda and presenting a documentary from 2014 about the previous government as if it's about the Houthis. He's just going to move on as well. Like, he doesn't even engage with the sources, doesn't even actually cite anything from within them. Just look at this headline that says what I want to say. Look at this negative thing about these people who I want to paint negatively. That's it. Anyway, so I'm just gonna make my own little article here about Ethan Klein, using the same standard of evidence that he used for him saying that Houthis restored slavery. This is the name of the news service. We are the Hassan Piker, the state news service, 100% unbiased.
I'll be back.
Okay, this is 100% unbiased news, and the headline is going to be Ethan Klein confirmed restores slavery to Beverly Hills. This is absolutely 100% objective news. You guys cannot say anything about this not being objective. Silence. Sources told us
They were already
that
dead.
Ethan Klein has restored slavery to Beverly Hills. Experts confirm this. A donkey in the street even made numerous noises when we asked if it would confirm the heinous crimes of Ethan Klein. As far as I'm concerned, this is dispositive evidence that Ethan Klein has returned slavery to Beverly Hills, and we need to get everyone looking into this immediately. The Hassan Piker State News Service would not lie about this. Do you think that the Hassan Piker State News Service would just make up sources that told them? Experts? They would even just interview a fake donkey? They would never do that. How dare you insinuate that? Oh my God, this is the brain of Ethan Klein, the critical thinking skills of Ethan Klein and his audience. Like, none of them question this at all. Incredible, man.
The law is doing what Luffy would do.
That lines up with leftist values. All right, so these guys are clearly the bad guys. So my question is, how does Hassan cover such a genocidal,
clearly the
violent...
bad guys relative to who? The Yemeni government backed by Saudis committing genocide? Or Israel? Or the USA also backing those Saudis doing the genocide? Relative to who? Relative to those people, these are the good guys, even if everything that you said about them was true, including the slavery. Because that's how bad those people are, that they would be better than them. Like, come on, dude. You're just so fucking dumb. Like, these guys are the bad guys. Who are the good guys then, Ethan?
Misogynistic, homophobic, terroristic organization.
Oh, you want to see a Houthi musical? Sure.
These were the people that the Saudis were killing, by the way. Just so you know, these fucking musically gifted individuals.
Yeah. I'm sorry, everybody.
Why do you show us him talking about the Saudis killing them and then you provide no context about him? Has he even mentioned the Saudis? I don't think so. This is literally a song about their rebellion against the US Saudi-backed Yemeni government, which they defeated. And the only way that a group like this could possibly win in such a situation, given the pervasive international support that the former Yemeni government had, is due to their much greater local support. And you should be asking questions about why that is instead of just trying to delegitimize this.
That's right, my friend. Hassan just played straight-up terrorist propaganda without even being there to analyze it.
What makes them terrorists? You have not explained what makes them terrorists. Why are they terrorists? What is it that makes them terrorists? The U.S. government said so? Because that's the only thing you've actually cited so far. Can you provide us, like, evidence of a terrorist attack that they have done?
Surely this must be against terms of service. Twitch does not allow content that depicts, glorifies, encourages, or supports terrorism or violent extremist actors. For example, displaying or linking terrorist or extremist propaganda, even for the purpose of denouncing such content. Denouncing? Okay, but what's the rule for endorsing it? Is that okay?
What makes this terrorist?
The answer is yes, as Hassan was never punished for this blatant violation of Twitch community.
He has not done anything to show us that they are terrorists. We're just supposed to accept it by default because they're Arab, basically. That's it. Why are they terrorists, Ethan? Why can't you include evidence of this claim in your video? Everything that he claims, it's like he just expects it to be self-evident. He does not at all, ever, actually provide any reason to believe him unless you're all, it's just like, I think this, I'm going to call them this. You know, this is terrorism. China is doing genocide. I don't have to prove any of my claims because I know that my audience is going to be perceptible to this by default. They don't know why either. I don't know why I believe this. I just do.
Guidelines. Got it. So denouncing terrorism is bad. Don't do that. Endorsing terrorism is good. Okay, got it, Twitch.
Why are they terrorists? Can you tell us?
This is a 3-minute video of... What do you mean a music video? When you said music video, I'm expecting like bad example, Chris Brown dancing, you know?
No. They do they do musicals. They're very musical people.
I know. Are you being serious?
Dog, what? You think I made this?
I know they're singing, but I'm seeing his guns and shit. This isn't a music video, Hassan. No, they do musicals about like their fucking like their actions all the time.
Hold on, guys. Hold on. I've got this. Instead of terrorist propaganda, let's call it musicals.
They do musicals.
Instead of violent jihadists.
Violent jihadists, like, dude, he's just throwing like negative adjectives and nouns at them. He doesn't provide any proof of his claims. Why are they terrorists? More than anything else. Why are they terrorists, but the IDF isn't, Ethan? Why is Rashid a terrorist, but Hila Klein isn't? I'd love to talk to you live about that. We could do some comparisons and we can get to the bottom of your claims here rather than you just saying them with no fucking evidence.
Let's call them musically talented people.
They're very musical people. I know. Are you being serious?
Guys, let's just use our brain. Fiddler on the Roof, Wicked, Alexander Hamilton, man. There's no reason we...
Oh my god, he's so not fucking funny and just stupid. This is so embarrassing.
Can't book these Houthis on Broadway.
Well, they go, listen, you want to fucking bring a ship through here? We're going to take it. So that's exactly what the Houthis start doing. They start fucking sending in helicopters onto fucking ships. Bro, they fucking, look at this. They got the Palestinian flag that they painted under the helicopter, the Yemen flag. They fucking they start overtaking the ships. And they're like, guess what, dog? No more trade to Israel. If you are sending ships into Israel, if you are owned by an Israeli subsidiary, if you're owned by an Israeli corporation.
Now, if Ethan was pro-Palestinian, as he claims himself that he's pro-Palestinian, blah, blah, blah. He's just a two-state solutionist. He would support this act. He would support a blockade against shipping owned by Israel, going to Israel, or related to an Israel-supporting state like its many Western allies. He would be 100% for that. He would be 100% for real action taken against the genocide. Not just for that. You know, he would be for like fucking military intervention against Israel to stop a genocide, stuff like that. You'd think that, right? Like, this is relatively mild compared to what is warranted against Israel for its many crimes, particularly the recent genocide. This is